Turn to your neighbor and say, "Neighbor, it's time to stop worrying." Oh, come on, say it like you believe it. It's time to stop worrying, because if we're honest, worry has been robbing us, stealing our sleep, draining our peace, and chaining our minds. Worry will make you rehearse problems that haven't even happened yet. Worry will make you sit in a prison that doesn't even have a lock on the door. But I came here tonight to tell somebody, you don't have to let worry run your life anymore. You were not created to live in fear. You were created to live in faith. You were not designed to bow down to stress. You were designed to stand up in strength. So today, we're going to break it down step by step, and I'm going to show you how to stop worry from taking over your life, so you can finally step into the peace, the power, and the purpose that God has for you. Somebody shout, amen. Worry is a master of disguise. It sneaks in dressed like responsibility, like caution, like wisdom. It will tell you, "I'm just making sure you're prepared." But in reality, it is robbing you, stripping away your peace of mind, draining your joy, and stealing the very energy you need to live. Worry is a thief, and it takes without asking permission. It will slip into your bedroom late at night and rob you of your sleep. It will sit down beside you at the dinner table and rob you of your appetite. It will stand behind you at work and rob you of your focus. And before you know it, you've gone through a whole day, a whole week, a whole month with your peace under attack. The thing about worry is that it always demands interest on problems you don't even owe yet. You start playing out scenarios in your mind. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? And while you're rehearsing those what ifs, you're paying an emotional debt on something that may never even come to pass. You're investing energy into shadows, into imaginations, into fears that don't have substance. That's how powerful worry is. It can build prisons out of thoughts and keep you locked inside of them, even when the door is wide open. You see, worry doesn't just attack your thoughts, it goes after your heart. When you let worry rule your life, your heart starts to carry a weight it was never designed to hold. You weren't created to carry tomorrow's burdens today. You weren't created to carry the weight of things you can't control. That's why some of us feel exhausted even when we haven't done anything physical, because the battle is in the mind. Worry has been fighting you in your head, and it leaves you drained in your body. But let me remind you, anything that steals your peace is not your friend. Worry is not your counselor. Worry is not your protector. Worry is not your teacher. It is a thief, and the first step to breaking free is to recognize it for what it is. You can't resist something you won't acknowledge. As long as you dress worry up as being realistic, as long as you justify it as just thinking ahead, it will keep on stealing from you in plain sight. But when you start calling it by its real name, when you say, "No, this isn't wisdom, this is worry. This isn't caution, this is fear," then you strip away its disguise, and once the mask comes off, you can finally confront it. Think about how much energy you've lost to worry. Think about the hours of sleep, the moments of joy, the opportunities of courage that slipped through your fingers because you were too busy playing out the worst case scenario. That's the strategy of the thief, to distract you from the blessings right in front of you by keeping your eyes locked on the problems that may never come. Worry always magnifies the negative and minimizes the good. It's like looking through a dirty lens. You can't see clearly, and everything looks worse than it is. But when you recognize worry as the thief it is, you start taking your peace back. You stop letting it run loose in your mind. You stop letting it dictate how you feel, how you respond, how you live. You start saying, "Not today. You will not rob me today. You will not have my peace. You will not have my joy. You will not have my faith." And that recognition alone, The awareness that worry is not your helper, but your enemy, is the beginning of freedom. Worry has a way of making your problems look bigger than they really are. It will magnify the mountain until you can't even see the path that leads around it. It will zoom in on the storm until you forget that the sun is still shining behind the clouds. Worry wants to lock your focus on what's wrong so you can't recognize what's right. It's like a spotlight that only shines on the trouble and leaves every promise of hope, every opportunity for joy, hidden in the shadows. And if you keep staring at the problem will grow in your mind until it feels too big for you, too heavy for you, too impossible for you to overcome. But there comes a moment when you must shift your focus. Because whatever you magnify in your life becomes your reality. If you magnify the problem becomes all you see. If you magnify the pain becomes all you feel. But if you magnify the promise becomes all you pursue. That's why shifting focus is so powerful. It doesn't mean the problem disappears. It means the problem no longer dominates the stage of your mind. You move the spotlight away from what drains you and turn it toward what sustains you. Every day you have a choice of perspective. You can either wake up rehearsing the reasons why things might fall apart, or you can wake up rehearsing the reasons why things can come together. You can either meditate on your fear, or you can meditate on your faith. Both require your imagination, both require your attention, but only one will give you strength. Worry is simply imagination in the wrong direction. Faith is imagination aligned with the promises of God, the belief that no matter what comes against you, you are not without hope, you are not without help, you are not without a way forward. When you focus on problems, you empower them. They begin to take up more space in your spirit than they deserve. They grow like weeds, choking out your peace and crowding out your joy. But when you focus on promises, something shifts. You start to remind yourself that storms don't last always. You start to remind yourself that seasons change. You start to remind yourself that every problem has an expiration date. And when you think on those truths, when you shift your focus, the weight doesn't feel as heavy, the road doesn't feel as long, and your spirit doesn't feel as defeated. Worry feeds off attention. The more you feed it, the stronger it grows. But faith feeds off attention too. The more you speak life, the more life rises up in you. The more you recall promises, the more strength awakens in you. The more you shift your focus toward hope, the more hope begins to drive out fear. That's why the battle is not just in what happens to you, but in what you choose to focus on after it happens. You may not be able to control what comes into your life, but you can control what you give your focus to. Problems will always knock at your door, but you don't have to invite them in and serve them dinner. You can acknowledge their presence without giving them your full attention. Instead, you turn your mind toward higher things, toward better things, toward things that remind you of who you are and whose you are. Because the truth is, the same energy you use to focus on problems is the same energy you can use to focus on promises. The difference is that one drains you while the other strengthens you. One leaves you anxious, the other leaves you anchored. One steals your peace, the other restores it. That shift is the key to stopping worry from ruling your life. Worry begins in the mind, and if it is left unchecked, it takes root in the heart. It speaks in whispers, planting seeds of fear, doubt, and insecurity. It says, you can't handle this, you're not strong enough, it's going to fall apart. And the more you allow those words to echo, the more they shape the atmosphere inside of you. Thoughts become cycles, cycles become habits, and before long, worry becomes your default setting. But the good news is that the same mind that has been rehearsing fear can be retrained to declare faith. You don't have to be a victim of your thoughts. You can choose which words you let live and which words you let die. Every thought that enters your mind is not meant to stay. Just because it knocks at the door doesn't mean you have to let it in, but worry thrives because we keep giving it a seat at the table. We let it eat with us, ride with us, sleep beside us until its voice becomes louder than the voice of faith. The key is to shift from fearful thoughts to faithful declarations. That means taking what has been tormenting you and answering back with truth. When worry says you're not going to make it, faith declares, I've made it this far and I'm not stopping now. When worry says you're going to lose everything, faith declares, I may lose some things, but I will never lose what God has for me. When worry says you are alone, faith declares, I am never alone, for I walk with a strength greater than my own. Words carry power, and the atmosphere of your life is shaped by the language you allow yourself to speak. Worry feeds off silence. It grows in the dark corners of your mind when you don't challenge it. But the moment you open your mouth and speak life, speak truth, speak faith, you interrupt its cycle. You break the agreement you unconsciously made with fear. That's why declarations matter. They are not just positive thinking, they are acts of resistance. Every time you declare faith in the middle of fear, you weaken worry's grip on your heart. Sometimes you have to talk to yourself until your spirit catches up. You may not feel strong, but you say, I am strong. You may not see a way, but you say, a way will be made. You may not know how it's going to turn out, but you say, I trust the process. That is not denial, that is direction. You are redirecting your mind away from destructive thoughts and aligning it with truth. You're shifting from letting fear write the script to letting faith have the final word. Worry always wants to predict disaster, but faith always points toward promise. Worry says, what if it all goes wrong? A faith says, but what if it goes right? Worry says, what if I fail? A faith says, but what if I learn and grow? Worry says, what if I lose everything? A faith says, but what if this is the doorway to something better? The same imagination that worry uses to scare you is the same imagination faith can use to inspire you. You don't need a new mind, you just need a new declaration. When you change the words, you change the weight. You stop carrying fear and start carrying faith. You stop walking heavy and start walking light. You stop feeling defeated and start standing with confidence. Because declarations build walls of truth around your heart that worry cannot penetrate. They protect your spirit, they anchor your mind, they give you strength in the storm, and the more you practice them, the stronger they become until worry no longer has a home in your life. Worry thrives in the future. It is always pulling you out of the present moment, dragging your mind into places that haven't even happened yet. It paints pictures of tomorrow's problems and makes you live in them today. That's why worry feels so heavy, because you're carrying a weight that doesn't even belong to you yet. You are living 2 days at once, and no one was created to survive under that kind of pressure. Worry will have you rehearsing tomorrow's trouble while you miss today's blessing. It will blind you to the opportunities in front of you because it keeps your eyes fixed on the fears ahead of you. But there is power in staying present. The present moment is where your strength is. The present moment is where your peace is. The present moment is where you can actually act, actually decide, actually move. Tomorrow is out of reach, yesterday is gone, but today is where life happens. And yet so many of us lose today because we are busy living in a tomorrow that has not even come. We are cooking up stress in a kitchen that doesn't even have ingredients yet. We are borrowing trouble on credit, paying interest on problems that may never arrive, Think about how many moments worry has stolen from you, times when you could have laughed, but you were distracted. Times when you could have loved deeply, but you were anxious. Times when you could have celebrated progress, but you were fixated on what might go wrong later. That's how worry robs us. It doesn't just steal peace, it steals presence. It makes you so consumed with the future that you don't live the life you actually have right now. Staying present doesn't mean ignoring the future. It means refusing to be trapped by it. It means saying, I'll face tomorrow when tomorrow comes, but right now I'm here, and I'm not going to let fear pull me away. Because there are lessons in today, there is beauty in today, there are victories in today that you cannot afford to miss. Life was never meant to be lived all at once. It was meant to be lived moment by moment, day by day, step by step. And when you slow down to breathe in the moment, when you ground yourself in what's real instead of what's imagined, you weaken worry's grip on your mind. Worry is fueled by imagination, but peace is fueled by awareness. Awareness of what is true right now, awareness of what is working right now, awareness of what you can do right now. Some of the anxiety you feel is not from what's happening, but from what might happen. And the way you break free is by pulling yourself back into what is real, what is tangible, what is within your reach today. It's choosing to stop rehearsing worst case scenarios and start noticing what's already good, what's already stable, what's already worth giving thanks for. The truth is, most of what we worry about never happens. Studies have shown that the majority of imagined fears never even come to pass. That means much of the stress, the tension, the late night tossing and turning was wasted energy. Energy that could have been used to create, to love, to grow, to rest. Worry robs you twice. It takes from you when you imagine the future, and then it takes again when you step into that future already drained. But if you learn to stay present, you stop feeding that cycle, you reclaim your energy, you reclaim your mind, you reclaim your joy. The present moment is a gift, but you cannot receive it if your hands are already full of tomorrow's fears. The way to live free from worry is not to predict the future, but to be faithful in the now. To wake up every day and say, this is the day I've been given, and I will not let worry steal it. Because when you are fully present, worry loses its power. Worry comes from a place deep inside that wants control. We want to know how it's going to turn out, when it's going to turn out, and what it's going to look like when it does. We cling to control because it gives us the illusion of safety. But the truth is, worry is nothing more than control in disguise. It's the restless mind trying to play God with outcomes it was never designed to handle. And the more you cling, the more anxious you become, because deep down you know you cannot control every detail of life. Worry is born where trust has not yet been planted. The reason surrender is so powerful is because it breaks the cycle of control. It takes the weight you were never meant to carry and places it into hands stronger than yours. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of what was never yours in the first place. It means saying, I can't fix this, but I know the one who can. I can't see the way, but I trust the one who sees the end from the beginning. I can't control the storm, but I can trust the one who speaks peace to the waves. That's when the grip of worry begins to loosen, because you are no longer trying to be your own savior. Think about how much of your worry is tied to control. You worry because you can't predict how people will react. You worry because you can't guarantee the outcome. You worry because you can't rewrite the past or skip ahead to the future. But surrender takes that tension and turns it into trust. It shifts the burden off your shoulders and places it on the one who can actually carry it. And once you release it, you realize the weight you've been dragging around wasn't yours to hold anyway. Worry says, "What if it doesn't work out?" But surrender says, "Even if it doesn't work out the way I planned, it will work out the way it was meant to." Worry says, "What if I lose everything?" But surrender says, "If I lose it, then it wasn't what I needed to keep." Worry says, "What if I fail?" But surrender says, "Failure is not final when trust is greater than fear." That shift takes you from panic to peace, from fear to faith, from anxiety to assurance. Because when you let go, you make space for God to step in. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the wisdom to know what is yours to carry and what is not. It is the wisdom to act where you can and release what you cannot. It is the wisdom to plant seeds without trying to control the harvest. It is the wisdom to walk step by step, trusting that the path is already laid out, even when you can't see beyond the next step. Worry comes from staring at the whole mountain and thinking you have to climb it in one leap. Surrender comes from focusing on the next step and trusting the mountain will move as you climb. So much of our exhaustion is not from what we're doing, but from what we're trying to control. We are exhausted because we're fighting battles that aren't ours. We are anxious because we're trying to write a story that's already been written. We are worried because we are trying to hold together what was never ours to hold. But when you surrender, peace comes rushing in. Peace that says, "I don't know the outcome, but I know I'm not alone in the process." Peace that says, "I may not be in control, but I am still in good hands." Peace that quiets the storm inside even when the storm outside is still raging.